Immune response. Immunity is a state of protection from a disease by specialized cells of the immune system. An individual has immunity from a pathogen if their immune system blocks it or destroys it before it causes illness. Two paths to long-term immunity in an individual are immunological memory from a previous infection. Okay, so we're not putting any vaccinations in at that point. And vaccination, which induces immunological memory without being infected by it. So this is where you get infected with the disease. This is where you have a vaccination before you get the disease. Communities have herd immunity to an infectious pathogen if most of its members are immune to it, which prevents the spread of the pathogen via chains of infection. So here we just have some groups of people. These folks have a certain disease, they've been exposed to a certain pathogen, and they can't really pass it on to anybody because everybody else here has been immunized. So this person sadly will stay sick, but once they're feeling all better and everything, that's fine. And they now have some immunity to that pathogen. But if these people, let's take this person and this person, if they weren't vaccinated or if they had no immunity, then the disease can be spread to both of them. Thanks to surveillance and recognition of non-self, which we've talked about earlier, the immune system is constantly removing pathogens from our bodies before any symptoms arise. We don't even feel it. Sometimes when there's a lag in immunity or a pathogen evades, that means it hides from the immune system, illness results. Immune responses often cause the symptoms of fever, fatigue, and inflammation. Inflammation is pain, heat, redness, and swelling. This actually is an indication that your system is fighting off the pathogen. So that's actually a good thing, even though it hurts for a while. So again, inflammation, fatigue, and fever are normal, and they'll go away once the immune system destroys or controls the pathogen. Sometimes, though, long-lasting illness and chronic conditions result when pathogens evade the immune system. They persist and cause damage. Pathogens that evade the immune system and survive in human bodies are the ones that cause chronic illnesses and take large tolls on individuals, families, communities, and countries. Many of the pathogens that infect people use their bodies as ideal places to reproduce, the human bodies, and use people as vectors to spread to new bodies. The immune response begins when a pathogen invades the body. A race between the immune responses and their ability to hide from white blood cells and reproduce begins at that time. In most cases, barriers and the innate immune system prevent a pathogen from gaining entry and reproducing. The first line of defense: skin, oils and wax, mucus, membranes, and chemicals. The second line of defense is a nonspecific cellular response. That's the innate immune system. Phagocytes, especially neutrophils, engulf a broad range of microbes. Phagocytic cells also release chemicals that cause inflammation and attract other white blood cells. Natural killer cells will destroy virus-infected cells or cells that appear altered, such as some cancer cells. If the invader evades the barriers, right, so that's the first line of defense, and the innate system defenses, and continues to replicate, then the adaptive immune system will come into play. Antigen-presenting cells, such as macrophages and dendritic cells, ingest the pathogens and present pieces of the foreign invaders to T cells. The foreign antigens are displayed on their surfaces in molecular cups for T cells to survey. Antigen-specific T cells become activated, following cell-to-cell contact and chemical communication with the antigen-presenting cells, also known as APCs. B cells that display antigen-specific antibodies will also become activated. Activated B and T cells increase in size. They start to divide and make more proteins. They change their antigen receptor genes slightly in a random fashion, and some cells make high-affinity receptors. Clonal selection of high-affinity receptors takes place. T and B cells that bind antigens tightly are selected to stay in the cell cycle and reduce. while cells with low affinity receptors do not receive growth signals and will not divide. So only the most efficient ones stay to divide and make more of them. The immune system adapts during the immune response as it amplifies the most deadly populations of the B and T cells and deadly to the antigens. Adaptive defenses vary with each type of pathogen. T helper cells secrete lymphokines that direct certain types of white blood cells to carry out pathogen-specific responses. Viruses reproduce inside cells, so cytotoxic T cells that kill infected cells are required to fight them. Virus infections lead to a strong cytotoxic T cell response. Bacteria stay outside cells, so a B cell response is favored. More plasma cells develop and bacteria can be killed by ADCC. Parasitic worms cause eosinophils, so cytotoxic white blood cells to become activated at that point and cause B cells to make a parasite-specific type of antibody called IgE. When the foreign antigens that activated T and B cells are no longer present, the T and B cells will stop dividing and making antibodies. T suppressor cells will secrete lymphokines that turn off the fight. Subpopulations of very long-lived memory B and T cells that express high-affinity antigen receptors will remain in circulation. They divide rarely, yet they do participate in surveillance. So, if the same pathogen returns, the symptoms will be more mild due to acquired immunity. You've got all these cells looking for it. And that's the immunological memory for a specific pathogen. One hallmark of the adaptive immune system is that its specificity for a particular antigen increases during the immune response. As the adaptive immune response matures over days or weeks, the binding affinities between its receptors and foreign antigens increases. Another hallmark of the adaptive immune system is that it is turned on and off by the presence and absence of foreign antigens, and it's regulated by T helper cells. Finally, a crucial feature is that the adaptive immune response provides a memory or acquired immunity to pathogens that could be encountered more than once.